Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our new America's Got Talent reaction. And what a weird episode. This is no golden buzzer, no Heidi.
No.
We had bodybuilding, flexing.
Is that what's happening there?
I don't know what that was, but it was something. You had eyeballs popping out of people's faces. This was a weird 2 hours of television.
Yeah, it was strange, but there was some good talent in here, even though there was some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, there's some good stuff. It probably, I don't know, I don't want to say it's my least favorite episode of the season, but it's definitely not my favorite episode of the season. Like, I feel like we've had some where we've come on here and we were like, yeah, the talent is stacked, and there's some good people this time around, maybe some contenders.
Yeah, and we've already spoken about Alan and Winston, so if you're wondering why we're not talking about them here, it's because we already previewed them, and we'll link that for you below.
And before we get any further here, if you guys do like this discussion, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates, because we got a lot of AGT stuff coming.
Okay, so I want to talk about someone who's one of my favorites of the night, and that is Shaquira. She was so good. I loved her voice. I loved her energy, and I don't even like country music at all, but I like her and I like what she did. So for me, she was really a winner for me tonight. I can't wait to see what she does next.
I just really liked her. Like, just first and foremost, it always helps if you really like someone, and I thought she was so refreshingly honest. Like, she was willing to get back and forth into it with the judges a little bit, which I always appreciate. And you could tell she was excited to do this. She was very blunt about why she hasn't really found the courage to do it here or there. But she was so good and energetic. And this is a song that can be really karaoke. Like, this is a total, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I've had a couple of drinks, the redneck woman is in the playlist, let's get to it. But she actually had some of her own character that this was not the drunken karaoke mix of this song. It was legitimately good.
And I really like that she used the whole stage. Like, she was working the stage, and that's not always something we see. We see a lot of singers that are in place, and that's okay. But I like to see somebody who's working the crowd, working the stage, getting everybody really hyped, getting everybody out of their chairs and dancing. It's, it is refreshing. That's the best word for it. I love her.
This is going to send a chill down everyone's spine, because I'm about to quote a Simon Cowell phrase that he utters way too much, and that is, I'm going to remember you. Like, I legitimately am going to remember Shaquira, because there's so many singers on this show.
I was about to say, this season is stacked with singers and contortionists. There are so many contortionists this season, I don't even know what is happening.
Yeah, the Bone Breakers, I do think the Bone Breakers are very good, but I think the Bone Breakers' biggest challenge is that they are on a season where I've already seen a number of metaphorical Bone Breakers already. It's sort of like when you see a magician show up after like 3 or 4 other magicians, you just end up comparing them in a lot of ways. So they don't probably stand out to me as much as they should, and that's kind of just unfairly because of all of the contortionists we've randomly had this season.
There are so many contortionists this season, and there's a lot of really good ones this season. Bone Breakers, they're also good. I like that. The thing that's a bit different about them is that they're a group. I mean, you don't really get to see a group of contortionists, so they can do a lot more that you're not going to be able to see. But we've also seen Emerald this season, and she put together a really cool story with hers. I mean, there are so many contortionists this season. It's going to be interesting to see that battle.
Yeah, I kind of hope we do see them all in like at least some sort of batch or something. They probably won't all be in the same judge cuts or whatever, but it would be fun to have Emerald give us Frenchie Baby, give us Bone Breakers. Let's see a little bit of what happens. But my favorite act of the night is probably Ty Barnett, because I thought he was going to be funny. He's one of these people who's sort of been around the comedy circuit for a while, and he's got a very distinct point of view. But The thing that I always want out of a comic on this show is you got to spend those first few seconds sort of winning the crowd over, and it felt like there was a little bit of, we don't know if we want to like him yet from the audience, but then he kept going, and yeah, I agree with Simon. I know I'm agreeing with Simon too much already, but
Who are you?
We'll get to points where we disagree with Simon later on in this video, but the bit about the kids at the horror movie, it was so funny and so true, where they're always like, let's run upstairs. You can't leave upstairs.
It was so funny because it is so relatable, and we've had other comics on this show where it's like it's relatable to like a certain group of people. Like we saw the other comic with the moms and the dads, and not everybody has kids. But everybody ends up in their 30s and 40s. We all end up there. It doesn't matter what path in life you take. You're in your 30s, you're in your 40s. So we can all relate to this, where it is when you're younger, you're rooting for these guys to get out of the horror house. And then now I'm in my 40s. I'm like, why? You're an idiot. You deserve to get killed.
I just kind of like that Ty.
It was so funny.
He also just feels kind of like a normal comic, and I mean that in the sense of he just feels polished. He feels like he's had a lot of sort of training. You know, he's got a little bit of an interesting backstory, but he's not all about the story. He just feels like someone who could probably go out and sell out, you know, in a world where we were actually able to go to comedy clubs. It feels like he would do rather well. So, you know, he is my favorite. I did love Shaquira as well, though, so
she's great.
We got a good bit of balance there. I think Annie Jones is someone people will talk a lot about.
For sure.
She is a young singer. We've certainly had plenty of those this season.
There are so many young singers. It's sort of like the Contortionists. Like, not only do we just have a ton of singers, but we have a ton of young singers.
The challenge is inevitably you're going to end up comparing people to Roberta, who got the golden buzzer, and I think she has the biggest, sort of most powerful voice out of some of these young singers we've heard so far. I think Annie, what makes her stand out to me is the more the performance got going, the more she kind of started to show more of her enthusiasm on stage and move around. I almost wish she did it a little bit earlier in the song too, so because I could get more of that, because I loved the second half of this performance so much because it felt really unique. It didn't feel like she was going to get lost in the sea of young singers that we currently have.
Yeah, this performance, and this doesn't happen very often, but this performance actually made me feel like I was getting to know her with her little, the dancing of the feet and stuff like that. I was like, okay, this girl's fun, she's quirky, she's got some confidence with her. Like, there was a lot that she showed me in that performance where other singers, adults, kids, it doesn't matter. You just get the really good voice. You're like, oh man, good voice. Yeah, but I'd like to connect a little more. I really connected with Annie because of that it felt like I was getting to know her through her performance. So that was really aces.
Yeah, I like that it was something that kind of suited her voice, suited who she was. I don't feel like she was putting on any sort of airs about the sort of person she is. I mean, I wouldn't say it was vocally perfect, but I do think it was something that gave me a chance to get to know her, and I like her, and I'm rooting for her because of that. And it's an interesting sort of contrast, because I think somebody like Jesse Kramer at the guitar later on, I know him because his name was like marginally familiar. I wouldn't watch a lot of The Four, but I kind of had heard of him. He was on The Four previously, but he's got a very polished voice. You can kind of tell that he knows what he's doing on stage. I think Annie has a rawness that may be a little bit more endearing to some people, but Jesse, no doubt, is incredibly talented, a great musician. He brought something new to the song.
Yeah, and that's very hard. I mean, you're going to sing a Lady Gaga song in general. It's very difficult. I mean, it seems like it could be easy because it's pop, but it really isn't. And because of that, I was very curious sort of how he was going to go about changing it and making it his own, and he really did. He found a way to put a little more of a rock into it and worked really nicely with his voice. I'm curious to see what else he's going to do, because with so many singers this season, you do have to stand out, and not a lot of people have been changing the arrangements a little bit, or stuff like that, putting in some risks into these songs. So it was cool to see that he did that.
Yeah, and I know that he's probably going to be one of these people who, if he comes out there with the right song, he'll probably deliver like this really great knockout performance. Depending on what we get with the judge cuts, he feels like he's a good solid sleeper to get a golden buzzer on one of those. We know people love their singers, especially on that judge cuts round.
Okay, so we also need to talk about Extreme Dance Force.
Extreme.
Okay, because listen.
Extreme. It makes me think, I don't even remember the movie, but you have those guys who are just yelling extreme all the time.
I didn't get it. Like, they were okay, but like right away they were missing stuff. Like the sync wasn't there with them. And then when I saw Simon standing and clapping, and they're just kind of like, I don't feel like I should be standing for this. Is that wrong? I'm just like, no, that's not wrong. This doesn't feel like a standing ovation for sure. But also, like, there are some mistakes. And even Standy's like, yeah, there's some mistakes, but still, it's amazing. I was just like, okay, is this Boogie Storm all over again? They're not as bad as Boogie Storm. I'm just making a joke. They're good. It's just you put them up against the Waffle crew, and there's no competition.
I'm trying to think of a best analogy to make this make sense. Like, let's say you have a deli and you really like a sandwich at the deli.
You love food.
I love food
All
so
our
much.
videos tonight have something to do with food.
I feel like I could eat a lot today, but this is the thing. Let's say you get that sandwich and you like it a very particular way, and you don't get the mustard on it. Like, you're gonna still enjoy the sandwich, but I don't know if you're gonna give the sandwich a standing ovation because it doesn't have the mustard. Like, you need the full package. And first of all, if I can say, if your name just makes me want to be like Extreme all the time, Extreme Dance Force feels like the name of something that is from like a 1999 student film. Like, you gotta change the name.
Yeah, it was weird because that was their name, but they had X-Men written on their jackets, so I thought that was their name. Like, the branding is off. I don't know what's going on there. Everything about the act just didn't feel in sync. You've got X-Men, but you're called something else. The dance moves weren't in sync. There was that land where it didn't seem like it was landing solid. I just didn't understand how they went through. And I'm not trying to knock the act or anything, but I'm sure that wasn't their best performance, because they feel like a group that does know what they're doing.
They're talented. I feel bad that Eric Stonestreet for one of his first acts is forced to make this sort of decision. I don't presume they're gonna make it far. My next question is, how fast are they going to be able to dance away from the House of Mouse once they realize they have X-Men written on their pants? Like, that is gonna be a dangerous issue for them. But I thought they were fine. Like, that's the best way I can put it. I think they're not going to stand out to me moving forward. And it's a weird episode of AGT. It was
kind of weird. I mean, yeah, there were some standouts, but yeah, it was kind of strange.
But anyway, let's turn this over to you guys. Who did you like the most? Who did you not like as much from this episode? Let us know in the comments. And if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe. And you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store. And we'll see you here next time.